Many of us have heard and maybe even experienced a moment of deja vu, right? It's this idea that a moment we find ourselves in, there's something eerie about it because it is familiar when it should not be. There's something about it that seems almost identical to a moment that you might have experienced before. And where you least expected it, it's not just a pattern, but there is an exactness and uncanniness to what it is that's taking place now. But there is a phenomenon that some describe as the opposite of deja vu. It's called Gemma vu, and it's this idea that we're in a moment, it is familiar, maybe we've experienced it many, many times before, but this time, something about it feels uncanny, feels eerie, feels unusual to us in some way when it really shouldn't. This week's new moon takes place in the sign of Virgo, and that tends to denote familiarity. I mean, this is the sign that speaks to those small moments as we move through our lives day in and day out. Sometimes we might even be on automatic as we go through those little habits and little rituals, but ultimately that is where life actually occurs and where ultimately we spend this incarnation and this lifetime. There's something very real about realizing that there is power in the present, and our need to be present at this time with something that might feel downright familiar. Well, it just might take us by surprise. But here's the thing, it isn't just about this new moon. You cannot understand this new moon happening at 0 degrees in the sign of Virgo without understanding that it is intimately linked to next month's solar eclipse. That solar eclipse takes place at the very end of the sign of Virgo at 29 degrees. Both 0 and 29 are deeply mystical degrees of any given sign. And in many ways, whatever it is that happens now, however familiar yet weird it might feel, that weirdness is an intuitive understanding that whatever might be happening, well, it's going to take on a whole other level of intensity just a month from now. Whatever it is that feels like a sure thing that you're starting again, it is going to have some karmic twists and turns that are only going to be revealed that much more fully under the light of next month's solar eclipse. And that means that while eclipses are considered especially karmic, right, they have this wild card quality, which is that you don't want to do too much in terms of aligning with it, making rituals, or maybe setting intentions to it, because you just don't know how things are going to go. Because ultimately eclipses are meant to align us with a higher, more loving vision for our life. And sometimes in our human understanding, we just don't know what that could be. And while this week's new moon, it comes on by surprise, and it has us very quickly scrambling in some way. And yet we may not fully realize that just when we think we know, we really don't. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of August 18, 2025. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. There are just days left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class at our upcoming September programs over at synchronicityuniversity.com. Learn more and sign up now, links below. There are a few things that help us to understand the key energies of a given celestial phenomenon, and a lot of that comes down to where that phenomenon is taking place, but also how that phenomenon is interacting with other power players. In case of the new moon that happens either very late Friday in some parts of the Americas, but really Saturday in most of the world, well, that new moon in particular, it is, on the one hand, where it is, 0 degrees of Virgo. And the 0 degree is quite interesting because it is when a planet, in this case the moon, has stepped into a brand new sign. But what does it mean? What is this going to be used for? How are we going to channel this energy? We might not be in that energetic knowing just yet. But what is happening with this new moon is these celestial connections that it's making that tell us so much about how its energy is likely to be experienced. Uranus will be in a conversation of tension with this new moon. And that denotes a sense of whatever's going to happen, it may literally feel like it comes out of nowhere. Or it could also be frustration that feels so on the surface until we recognize what it's really about and what it is that's really going on. Now, those realizations, whether internal or whether it is external circumstances that take us by surprise, there is that factor that we didn't see it coming. But then what is it going to mean? How do we make sense of it? How do we now apply it to wherever it is that Virgo might be speaking to us in our lives? Where is it that with Virgo energy, we're being asked to be present, be here now? Well, wherever it is that perhaps we've gone off in directions that are way too dreamy, so much so that we don't even realize it, that's when the crash out is going to feel that much stronger. And yeah, for some, it just might feel that way. But even a crash out or a breakthrough or a crash through, it has its wisdom to it. And the wisdom shows up very clearly with this new moon energy, because this new moon is also part of what is known as a YOD configuration. And in some interpretations of the sky, they even call this a finger of God configuration. And the reason for that is it involves two deeply mystical celestial connections, which is the quincunx. Two quincunxes are involved in this larger configuration. And if you look at this chart in the sky, you will see how we have these really big planets. On one side, Pluto. On the other side, we've got Neptune, and Saturn's there as well. And Neptune and Pluto, Saturn and Pluto, they are speaking in harmony in a type of conversation that astrologers call a sextile. A sextile is considered an easy configuration, but it's got just a little tension. It's got just a little bite to it where we're able to recognize that things can be better and we want things to be better. And because of that, we're willing to do something about it. And in that doing, we reap reward. In astrology, we think of trines as the most fortunate celestial aspect. And yeah, trines are great too. But trines can make us famously lazy because great things show up. We're in a great mood. We're going along for the ride. And we think and we feel viscerally that things will always be this way. But there is no growth without having some sort of tension. And we don't really know what we're made of until we have those moments of tension and we make our choices as to what it is we're going to do with it. These planets, right, that are speaking in harmony in a sextile, these three planets are going to each be connecting in a quincunx configuration with this new moon. And in fact, it will look as if all of these placements in the sky are literally pointing at this new moon, which is why this configuration is sometimes called a finger of God configuration. But I look at the planets involved, right? Saturn right now is so close to Neptune. They are essentially sharing energies. And whereas Neptune is about getting carried way too far, magical thinking being the real thing, and yeah, sometimes it truly is incredible to recognize the magic around us. It's Saturn that invites us to balance its energy. And where it is, we've gotten way carried away on a fairy tale. Well, Saturn invites us to look at what actually is, invites us to contain it so that whatever does manifest that is actually magical in some way, well, it's something that we can be sure is real, that it's going to matter. It's manifesting in a way that we can touch, that we can appreciate. Pluto, of course, is truth and transformation, but it's also focus. The type of conversation involved here, called a quincunx, well, it has this ability to come up very quickly. Like very quickly, we have to integrate these energies. In this case, very quickly, we have this new moon, and we've got to figure out how to bring together magic and reality and what's really going on, even if we'd rather not look at it, what's messy, but also what we are inspired towards. All of it might feel like it comes together really quickly, but the great thing is the opportunity at resolution comes about very quickly as well. Now, interestingly, Uranus is brand new in the sign of Gemini. The planet that rules the sign of Gemini, that has a natural correspondence to it, is Mercury. And whatever might be happening with Mercury at any given moment, it helps us to understand more fully how we might be utilizing Gemini energy and vice versa. It was last week that Mercury officially went direct, but really, Mercury has, for the most part, appeared to be standing still in the sky as it is slowly gaining traction. And as Mercury is slowly gaining traction, it has been hanging tight, a harmonious conversation with Mars, a planet that has to do with intensity and impulsivity. But again, we're looking at a sextile, and that means we are encouraged to be wise with this energy. With Gemini, with Mercury, a lot of it comes down to what you're hearing, what we're talking about, what we're understanding, what we're perceiving, and where it is that perhaps our own impulses might be coloring that. I do think in a split second, some of us might recognize that and be able to direct this energy with greater wisdom. And yet, at the same time, if we're not listening to ourselves or to our lives, that's when that new moon energy at the end of this week is going to feel especially dramatic. Now, very respectfully, I cannot think of a better example of this that we are seeing culturally. And I have been absolutely fascinated by this. As I was getting over the flu this last week, I was raptured by this story of a woman who said she fell in love, she liked her psychiatrist, and he knew, but he kept her anyways. That's the way that she puts it. And she's put out all this series of videos, and they have been deeply examined. Many a YouTuber has been exploring what she's saying, why she's saying it, and what she means and what's really going on with her. A lot of mental health professionals, and I like to follow some of them online, but they have been sort of diagnosing her from far. Whether or not that's fair, we can't really say, but they have been saying it seems like, based on her own testimony, that there's a lot of magical thinking playing out here, a lot of assumptions, a lot of drawing of dots that may not be there at all, a lot of a lack of self-ownership as well. And where it comes to self-ownership, I'll give you an example. Like I said, I've been getting over the flu. It is incredible how great it is to breathe again, to live again, and to be present here with you. And while I had the flu, people were reaching out to me. Sometimes they knew, they saw something like, hey, are you not feeling well? Sometimes they weren't even paying attention at all. They were just messaging to say, hi, what's going on with you? And of course, I wasn't really in a place, whether it is mentally, whether it is physically, to contact them back. And it was very interesting to see sort of the responses following that, right? Some people kind of took it personal, like, are you mad at me? Other people, they really didn't care. They were like, hey, I didn't even realize, I forgot I messaged you. And other people were like, oh, great. I'm so glad to hear from you. Good for you. You do you. I know you have a Sag Moon Aquarius sun. You'll come around eventually. You got to be free. And I thought, oh, these are the people who know me. These are the people who love me. But what was fascinating about this was that across the board, these responses really didn't have a lot to do with me, right? It had to do with their own feelings of uncertainty, of want, of desire, of feelings that they want friendship, or they want the connection, or maybe they don't, or maybe they feel like maybe they did something, maybe there's something in the back of their head that they're feeling guilty about, whatever the case might be. And so much of that was completely not relevant at all. And I understand, like, for example, when we really want to talk to somebody and we feel like they're not responding right away, sometimes our minds, especially if we're sensitive people, or especially if we haven't learned the skill not to take things personally, when we are not in that place to have learned that very key building block of psychologically stepping into adulthood, to understand that there might be certain things that we might do that evoke certain reactions, and we can take responsibility for them, but also know that there's a whole lot that happens that has nothing to do with us. and that people are going to make choices, and it seems like it's about us, but it really isn't. It's about a whole lot of things that are happening that are a whole lot deeper than any given moment. And I think that's a big part of a lot of what we are going to continue to see this week, and a lot of what this breakthrough energy just might entail. This is Virgo energy, which says, what's really going on? What does the evidence say? And I like to say this to me, when I think Virgo, I think the proof is in the pudding. It's the proof is in the pudding part of the sky. And that's really where reality is. That's where the evidence is. And that doesn't mean our intuitive responses, our perceptions, that they don't matter. Absolutely they do. But they matter as far as they provide us with a tool towards our own growth, our own understanding, so that ultimately we might live life that much more consciously and that much more fully. Now, because I wasn't here with you last week, I do want to take a step back and talk about some of the things that were playing out then. And I already mentioned one really important thing, and that was at the beginning of last week, we did have Mercury officially go direct. And when Mercury does go direct, it tends to bring with it a light bulb moment. Now, what that light bulb is likely was deeply personal and very likely was found in our hearts. This entire Mercury retrograde, and we're still in the retrograde season, but it's been taking place in the sign of Leo, which has to do with what we want in our heart of hearts, and that part of us inside that knows that there is something within us that is worthy of shining and being seen. It is the energy of Leo that is ruled by the sun. And if you think about the sun, right, the sun was, up until just a few thousand years ago in human history, it really was the highest god. It was, according to humanity's conceptualizations, the greatest of the gods. And there was an understanding very early on, as far as we know with written records, that it was the sun that gave life, that reminded us of life, that encouraged life, and that includes our own life as well, our own vitality as well. And so having Mercury go direct in the sign of Leo and the natural correspondence these symbols have, it speaks very powerfully to an awakening of heart and an understanding of what we bring, what we shine, and how we want to go about it. And connecting very deeply to that worthiness might have been part of not just the light bulb moment, but also the determination to bring it forward might have felt very on the surface for a lot of us out there. And that's because of that Mercury sextile Mars that's been hanging tight last week and into this week as well that I spoke of earlier. Now, what we also had was the very much hyped up, most romantic day of the year. This is when Venus meets Jupiter in the sky. And it is an energy of big blessings and heart expansion. And this energy took place where it is that Jupiter is especially strong. Jupiter really likes to be in the sign of Cancer. It is magnified in its energy that much more. But the thing with blessings is we don't always realize how those blessings are actually working to our advantage. And sometimes what looks like disappointment on the surface, or looks like fate, or looks like something just washes away, which might have been part of this energy of Venus meeting Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, well, what looks like it washes away actually can be very cleansing, allowing something even better to flourish forward from there. So regardless of how this energy might have been experienced for you specifically, understand that this most romantic day, this day of big blessings, but also big indulgences as well, in many ways, it was designed to return us to heart. And where it is we might have felt disconnected to heart, well, it becomes about trusting the divine wisdom of whatever needs to play out, so that you're able to recognize just what it is that the heart message that desires to come forward is for you. But it's also about recognizing, the tapestry, the part that we play. And when I looked at this, I thought about a song that I'll tell you came to my mind a whole bunch of times these last couple of weeks. And that is a song from a movie called The Prince of Egypt. I love this movie. I have seen this movie so many times. I think the only movie I've seen more than this, speaking of deja vu, is The Matrix. I love that movie too. But The Prince of Egypt is a kind of a second, we could say. I really, really enjoyed this movie. And there's the songs. It's all about the songs. They are so good. And just when I need them, I will remember these songs. I will think of these songs. I will sing these songs. And when I was in the Galapagos just a few weeks ago, and I was on this boat, and I will tell you, I saw that motorboat just rushing through the water, parting the sea. And I kid you not, I started singing this song. And thankfully, there was a lovely person on board named Joel who was very encouraging of me belting out a show tune. And that was Look at Your Life Through Heaven's Eyes, of course, right? I love this song. I would encourage you to look at it. I'm not going to sing it right now, but I will say it starts off by saying, a single thread in a tapestry, though its colors brightly shine, can never know its purpose in the pattern of the great design. So, how can you see what your life is worth, where your value lies? You can never see through the eyes of man. The answer will come, the answer will come to him who tries to look at his life through heaven's eyes. That's all. I can't believe I did that. I sang that on a motorboat with like 12 strangers on a random tour in the Galapagos last month. I did. Please don't judge me too harshly for the professional singers out there, but what the heck? Why not? It was fun. It is fun to sing. It is fun to belt out sometimes, and I am due for it. So there we go. But let me say, yeah, Venus conjunct Jupiter. Venus conjunct Jupiter, especially in the sign of Cancer, that reaches so deep within. It has to do with like the collective consciousness and our connection to others and feeling a sense of family no matter where it is that we go. It is about being willing to see our lives as not just that little thread, but to understand, even just for a glimpse, just a brief glimpse, how it's part of a really beautiful tapestry, more beautiful than what we might have previously understood. And that also connects us to the energy of the new moon this week as well, with this new moon energy being just this foreshadow. And just when we think we know what that foreshadow is, well, it just might end up being something totally different and yet deeply connected to whatever it is that is happening under the light of the new moon at the end of this week. It becomes really important to pay attention if possible. If you're really dreamy and singing show tunes and you're busy with that, all good. I might be doing that. But if not, if you're actually paying attention to your life, maybe you're journaling, maybe you're jotting things down. It's almost like the thing that you think it's definitely going to be and the thing that feels so urgent right now that comes out of nowhere isn't going to be the thing that you see differently once we get to the eclipse energy of next month. But it is likely going to be the thing that's almost like an afterthought or like a little bit of a thread to the side that ends up taking on a much more major role once we get to that eclipse. Now, even though you know I will talk about it as we go along, let me say with that eclipse at 29 degrees, it is a solar eclipse. It is a dramatic new beginning. The fact that it's at 29 makes it that much more dramatic, but it will come hand in hand with some closure. And that closure might feel especially intense, but it also provides breakthrough energy because it is this new moon that is square Uranus, right? It's an uncomfortable surprise. It's a feeling of frustration, like we want to be free. But next month's solar eclipse, well, that is going to be speaking in supreme harmony with Uranus, which brings with it blessings and breakthroughs and happiness, but that doesn't make it any less significant in its intensity, in its emotionality. And so stay open to possibility, but know that it's the subtle things, the things that get lost as we're on automatic, as we move through our lives, that just might be the thing that ends up being especially significant in about a month's time. Now, bringing it back to last week, let me say, because I know I touched on some of the big things that happened, there was one other thing that was really important that took place last week as well. And it happened on Tuesday for most of us out there. And this was Saturn sextile Uranus. Okay. This is part of the larger near Star of David configuration that I've been telling you about for years and years. Look out for that. It's going to be coming. We've been getting a very powerful glimpse of that in the month of August. However, there's another reason that this aspect is so important. Besides the fact that it will be at the end of the month that Neptune will perfect its sextile with Uranus. So we're getting mighty close to that exact near Star of David configuration. But I want you to think back, right? So what happened when we think back? Well, we had in 2020, a lot of us stayed home, right? It had to happen, or we didn't have a lot of choice in it. We didn't have a lot of power over it. There were powers larger than us, and a lot of us stayed home, maybe felt some disruption, but ultimately it was all about helping us to stop, helping us to stand still, whether we wanted to or not. We had to get honest with ourselves about our lives, and also honest with ourselves about what we're willing to sacrifice for others and what we are not. And also where it is we are willing to sacrifice for those we don't know, and where it is that we are not. All of these layers of spiritual lessons were coming together for a lot of us out there at this time. So that period of time was kicked off with Saturn meeting Pluto in the sky. That was the astrological symbol that correlated to what was taking place for us. Now we fast forward, we go into 2021, and what do we have? We have Saturn squaring Uranus. And Saturn square Uranus was very significant. It was one of the most important transits to happen in 2021. So this was us figuring out, right, how much of what we're doing, do we stay home, do we go out, what's reasonable, what isn't, what sacrifices we made, what we're no longer willing to make. All of that stirred for a lot of us out there. But really, this was energy that, at least collectively, was about helping us to understand Aquarian energy. This is the ancient and modern ruler of the sign of Aquarius. Now Pluto is in Aquarius, so we are fully immersed in its energy, but it was helping us to understand, like, what face of Aquarian energy are we going to bring forward? And whether that was the social restriction phase, whether that was each one for themselves kind of phase, we were figuring it out, and a lot of us were finding our own answers for ourselves. But what I can also say is a lot of us were likely feeling antsy. A lot of us were likely feeling like, okay, it's enough. I've been home long enough. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to break free in some way. Now, sometimes that breaking free was, wow, this is the reality of my life and it's not working for me. So a lot of people, well, things happened in life that made us honest, right? Some people got married, some people had kids, a lot of people broke up, and people changed jobs, people changed careers. They realized, you know what, I really want to work from home so I can hang out with my dogs. I know a lot of people who felt that way. But whatever that was for you, it was about getting honest about how you feel about your life and what's got to change. And part of what's got to change just might have been, I got to get out of the house. But for others, it was more profound, more sweeping. It was like life decisions were being made, even if they were hard and even if they were inconvenient. We were choosing a sense of where it is that we desire to go next. More of us were thinking of that rather than where it is that we have been. Okay, that's square. It's tense. It's frustrating. We're making changes, whether anyone likes it or not. We know that we got to be true to ourselves and we're willing to fight for it. Now, fast forward. Saturn is sextile Uranus, but this is the culminating sextile, which means there's something in astrology called a Sydonic cycle. And what this represents is planets, especially two planets, right? They meet in the sky. That represents the beginning of their Sydonic cycle. And then they will travel around the sky and ultimately they will come back to meeting again. Now, depending on the planets involved, that could be decades later. Sometimes it could be months later, depending on the planets involved. But that Sydonic cycle has some key moments in it. And some of those moments are separating, where the energy is growing, and then culminating, where the energy is coming back to us. Now, the last time that Saturn and Uranus began the Sydonic cycle that they currently find themselves in was February 1988. And that was when they met at 29 degrees of Sagittarius, the very end. We just got talking about how big and significant the 29th degree is. So this was a very concentrated kind of energy. And it was that meeting back in 1988 that kicked off a brand new 45-year cycle. That's how long it takes for these two planets to meet in the sky. And we go forward from there. We get Saturn moving forward, because Saturn does move a whole lot faster than Uranus. But they start having these major connections to each other. And if you think back, one of the more important moments in that Sydonic cycle is when Saturn and Uranus were opposite each other. And they were opposite each other all the way back in 2008. That was when, in 2007 as well, that was when that energy was especially dominant. And since then, Saturn has been coming back around to Uranus and culminating, gaining energy, sort of bringing back to us all the things that we sowed in the first half of this Sydonic cycle. It's coming all the way back to us, and now here we are. And it is this Saturn and Uranus sextile that is not just going to be a one-time thing. We're going to have more exact moments in this sextile, but at that time they will be in different signs. That will be later on as we end the year and start a new year, that both planets involved, Saturn and Uranus, will have retrograded back into different signs. In the case of Uranus, it'll be Taurus, dipping back in for a final stay. And in the case of Saturn, it will be the sign of Pisces, dipping back in for that final goodbye. And that's when these two are going to connect again. But right now, and what happened last week as these two connected in a sextile, this is the last really important configuration that these two planets are going to have as part of this larger Sydonic cycle. And it is here that we get this maximum culmination, if you will. What we began, what breakthroughs we had, what understandings more personally that we had, and where it is that we have transformed certain structures in our lives to make them more authentically true to us. All of that awareness is likely going to be culminating for us. And at least now we're reaping some reward. We're able to see how whatever is happening right now, it just might be connected to what felt so tense for us in 2021. Now it's like whatever tension we moved through, we worked through, this is the payoff. But it's really a period of time that is the final payoff before we start a brand new cycle of manifesting breakthroughs that help us become more us than we knew ourselves to be before, and to understand what freedom means to us differently than before. Now, I understand I get people watching me of all ages. I love each and every one of you. But having said that, some of us, of course, have been around long enough to observe, to understand, to be able to connect whatever's happening now to a period of time decades earlier. Others maybe not so, and that's okay as well. Wherever you are in your journey, understand that you don't necessarily have to connect what's happening now to 1988, though some of us will be able to. For the most part, if you can connect what's happening now to just 2021, you'll prime yourself that much more to understand how it is that you can tap into the blessings and the potential of the near Star of David configuration that is speaking this year, and especially strongly next year as well. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It is a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Well, look, I'll tell you, if this video is any testament to it, let yourself be kind of semi-unconscious, kind of drugged up on goofballs while you're working through the flu in order to be able to come back and see what's really inside of you and all the energy you have that you're just bursting forward with, as I think I have demonstrated to you here today. But really, the sky, I just find it really exciting. And I also did sing. So when I sang, well, that also changed my vibration as well. So that's really exciting. And that just might be how I'm working through Saturn sextile Uranus. How have you been working through it is a really fascinating question to ask you as well, because that is energy that we are coming into this week with. It is a slow moving energy, and it's going to have that much more nuance and magic to it as we get to the end of the month. But for all that, also understand that a lot of us might have been given to sort of flights of fancy, magical thinking, making connections that ultimately had to do with our own insecurities, our own vulnerabilities. And it is this new moon at the end of the week that just might have us looking at what's really going on. And what's really going on isn't just about how we feel, although that is very valuable as part of our spiritual growth, but it's also about looking at and understanding more deeply some sense of what the facts are showing you, what is actually the proof in the pudding. And that has to do with the evidence. That has to do with being honest with ourselves as to what is being demonstrated, whether it's what we are demonstrating or what others are demonstrating to us. That moment of reflection just might be what we need to activate that true YOD configuration, also known as the finger of God configuration, which is pointing to this new moon, providing us with a new beginning that ultimately is a lot more honest. And through its honesty, however painful it might be to look at it, because Pluto, it can be painful, and yet we've also got Neptune there, which is healing, which is abundant. You add to it the fact that we're coming into this week, off of some of the best of the most romantic day of the year, which could also be the most indulgent day, the most fun day, the most carried away day, whatever that was for you. We're coming into the week with that energy. And so let that also magnify the energy of healing that much more. Just when you think you know what's starting, you might have it a little off. And so provide yourself with grace, while knowing that more has yet to be revealed. And now what feels like a moment that should be so mundane and familiar, yet it feels weird in some way, that jamais vu, just know it's setting us up for a very powerful, unexpected deja vu moment just a month from now. And so, I like to say pace yourself and be yourself, but also I would say get excited for yourself, for your life, and all it is that you have yet to discover about you and about the reality of your existence. And you just might find real, authentic, and practical magic revealing itself to you in real time. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys, and to prove it to you, here's some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. A very big and magical event is coming up really, really soon, where I and Andy of Wise Ass Astrology are both doing a live presentation in downtown Toronto, my hometown. And that's just next week, next Tuesday. So not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. And there's just a few spots left. I think we're 75% sold out at this point. And so, if you are anywhere near the downtown Toronto area, you would like to join us, you would be super welcome to do so. And you can go to the link below or nadiyashah.com/Toronto to learn more, to sign up. It's an evening event. And like I said, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be laid back and it's gearing up for the great sextile. Both Andy and I will be talking about this. I'm trying to get some other friends, surprises to come on out, and I think that would be so very special. But for all that, of course, you would be welcome. And if you can't join us in person, you can join us online as well. And go to the same link and sign up for that. You'll be able to join us in real time for that live event, or just get the recordings and laugh and be happy and be inspired and be lifted, and all those wonderful intentions we're putting out there. So I really hope that you will join us. Synchronicity University has some absolutely incredible programs, can't miss programs that are going to be coming up for us this September. And as we start this week, you've got just a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class. I'm going to start with me. My own class is going to be starting this September, and it is Past Lives Part 2. The first Past Lives class I did, it was super popular. Lots of people got very excited with that, and lots of signups were there, and they really enjoyed the lesson. So now we are going to do Part 2 of that, and I'm really looking forward to it. So it's more intermediate techniques with that, and then I do have other plans for more past life stuff that I think will be a whole lot of fun to explore together as well. And so you can see here, we're going to be looking at brand new houses, brand new connections, and new ways to bring forward the nuances of understanding maybe some past patterns and past roles that you've played. And at least on a cellular memory, maybe you have some of that coming into this life, and how to use it all to your advantage. This is where I really love astrology as a tool for mystical awareness and opening, and just as an awareness of spiritual practice, right? This is where it really does come forward in a wonderful way. So you can learn a lot more about this class. You can sign up now. You've got just over a week left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links below. Synchronicity University is thrilled to present Aspects, the Secret Code of Astrology, featuring Sarah, the Astro Auntie. What? The Astro Auntie is coming to Synchronicity University. This is super duper exciting. And here she is, and she's the perfect person to be teaching Aspects as well. Now, the Astro Auntie, she's been doing her thing online. She's got a dedicated following, and now she's bringing that brilliance to us as well. And you will understand Aspects with a greater depth, a greater nuance, and greater precision than you have before. This is a chance to really dive into your chart, to understand how different energies connect with each other, how they are there to support each other, and the different ways in which you might be bringing forward their energies, so that you can do so that much more consciously, to use the aspects in your chart that much more to your advantage. Whether it's a transit, whether it's a natal aspect, this class can only deepen your practice with the one and only, very engaging, very entertaining Sarah, the Astro Auntie. You can learn a lot more about her class, and you can sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links below. Synchronicity University is thrilled to present 2025 September speaker series, and you've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate. We've got this incredible cohort, brand new speakers than we ever had before, and I'm super excited to celebrate these people with you. I'm going to start with Hannah Tanajura. She's amazing. I just had a conversation with her. That should be publishing in the next few days. And I loved talking to her. It was actually kind of funny because what happened, and you'll figure it out, just like I ended up spontaneously singing here right now, I ended up realizing halfway through our interview that I had a Daddy Yankee pillow over on the side, which is something I try not to make public very much. And so that was a funny moment, but we actually had an amazing conversation where we talked about Juno, we talked about Athena, and so much more. And so she's going to bring an understanding of the astrological Juno to this speaker series. Now, just a bit of a note. It is also Hannah that is going to be with me at the Omega Institute, and I'll talk about that just a little bit. A huge event that's going to be happening where she will be teaching on Pallas Athena and so much more. Alejandro Ruiz is going to be teaching on techniques of the soul, and he is going to be using Islamic astrology techniques. This is a tradition that's awakened something for him that he feels deeply connected to, and he's going to bring that understanding of soul infused in the sky to help us to understand our own charts that much more deeply. I am so looking forward to this class. Dr. Patricia Bell, she is a world-class medium and author. She's also a very dear friend of mine who I love so much, and I have known her and worked with her in the past, but never really at Synchronicity University, I don't think. But yeah, she's coming to Synchronicity University about when the heart speaks to help you to understand that connection, that mediumship, that intuitive understanding that you have in terms of your connection to something more profound. And she'll bring that and so much more to her talk. Humera Heder is very, very significant to me. Actually, she'll be teaching numerology magic, but she is also my aunt. And so I had fun interviewing her the other day as well. That'll be published very soon. Now, Humera is someone who has been such a part of my spiritual journey. I know that you guys have seen Shireen on my channel, and this is Humera. They're both my mother's sisters, and I love them both very much. But yeah, this time Humera is coming for the very first time to Synchronicity University, and she's really practical, right? She's really like, okay, this number has this kind of vibration, this kind of luck. If you need more of this, use this stone. If you need more of that, consider changing this spelling or utilizing more of this mantra or whatever the case might be. So she's super, super practical in how it is that she practices numerology, and she'll be helping you to learn some of those techniques. And Shu Yap will bring Ferdaria method. Now, this is a very powerful method that has to do with prediction. You use it in prediction, and once you understand it, it's like you can't unsee it. Once you understand it, it changes your ability to understand which way energies are going and what's likely to happen, and your prediction power, if you will, which is such a part of our tradition. Well, it's able to become that much more precise, and you're going to learn that thanks to her talk. So you can see here, we've got an incredible cohort overall, but certainly the speaker series is going to be lit. It is going to be fun. I hope that you will join us over at synchronicityuniversity.com. Learn more, sign up now, as low as just $5 a class for a little time more. Links are in the description below. Astrology, Consciousness, and the Great Shift at the one and only Omega Institute, a huge event that is set to take place in the first days of October. It is very fast approaching, and if you are anywhere in the tri-state area, the New York City area, you would be very welcome to join us. And it really is going to be like this on-site weekend event, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, I do want to say I actually attended as a participant an event that took place there 21 years ago. And I will tell you, the place has so much power to it. And it was life-changing. It really was. And so now to be back as a speaker and to be back there, to be part of facilitating that in other people, but I'm sure I'll be part of having my own understandings and breakthroughs as well. Well, it just makes this moment that much more meaningful and that much more special as well. And so look, we've got these huge, big, blockbuster, big dog astrologers. I kid you not. Look at this. Maurice Fernandez is going to be there. He is a world leader in evolutionary astrology. We're going to have Lynn Bell. She is also a world leading astrologer, books on solar returns, and she's written so much more. Such a beautiful poetic writer. Anne Ortili, the online sensation. I know you've seen her online. Absolutely brilliant astrologer. And again, Hannah is going to be there as well. And you'll see from the interview I did with her earlier this week, she knows her stuff. She is ready. She is so ready in terms of her knowledge, in terms of her energy. It'll be great to see what she does, not only there, but in astrology in the next couple of years. And so we've got this amazing group of facilitators, and it's a lot oriented around like the sacred female, the divine female. And each of us is going to be speaking on some different celestial goddess in the sky. I'll be teaching on Black Moon Lilith. Hannah's going to be doing Pallas Athena, and so on. So you can learn a lot more about this upcoming program, and you can sign up as well going to the link below. And a very limited number of consultations are now available with me and Andy of Wise as Astrology over on my website, nadiyashah.com/consultations. Now, August, I love you guys. Thank you, everybody who purchased a consultation with me. Just the other day, I've added a few more slots for September. So August is completely sold out. I think there are some 10 slots left for September. And then I will stay in touch with you guys about adding even more days in future months as well. But for now, yes, that's what we have. And if you would like a consultation in the month of September, if it resonates with you, if it feels right for you, I would love to have that opportunity to sit with you and to create that safe space and to talk to you as I look over your chart and answer your questions. You really are at the lead of it, and it is your time. It can be whatever you want. Some people like to just be quiet and they like to let me talk. Other people, they really like to have a conversation. Some people come in and they're like, okay, I know this is happening, but don't talk about that. Just talk about this. And I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. But I really believe that your soul knows what it is that you need. And if you feel called to having a consultation with me, it would just be such a privilege. But also, yeah, I will trust you to take the lead should you want, or if you want to turn it over and say, okay, Nadiya, you do what you want to do, we can do that as well. Now, Andy takes a different approach because he will really spend a lot of time, like with you. He will sit there with you for 90 minutes, for 2 hours, for 2.5 hours. He wants to make sure your questions are answered and that you're able to really feel like you were able to dive into your chart and understand yourself that much more deeply. So you can learn a lot more about our different consultations. You can see our schedules and you can use that to choose the exact time slot you want. You fill out a form, you make your payment, and you will automatically be sent a Zoom link as well. Now, we have different price points, of course, different calendars, of course, so all of that is evident there over on my website. So learn more. Sign up for consultation now over at nadiyashah.com/consultations, links below. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. I'm so grateful for it. Thank you for your patience with me as I was getting better. I really appreciate that so very much. What a privilege to have your trust. What a privilege to feel how valuable my interpretations are to so many people out there, and for your well wishes as well. That meant so much to me. And so something was posted because I was like really in the thick of it. And so I was feeling really emotional because when you get sick, it doesn't just affect your body, right? It affects your mind as well. Then you add to it, I was taking these medications. So there was a lot of emotionality that came forward. And so I got messages. Some people really thought it was very serious. Now, sometimes the flu is serious, but I have a very strong immune system. I will say that, a very strong immune system. And I think that these things happen when it's like my immune system is ready to like go to another gear, right? It's ready to like kick up a notch. It's like, yeah, let me show you I can do it. Yeah, let me get stronger over here, Nadiya. Yeah, let's deal with this now. And then I'm better and I'm stronger than ever. And that's how I like to look at these things. And yeah, so we have that, and we have the fact that so many people reached out and there's so much love out there, and I'm just so grateful for all of that. But what a great pleasure to be back with you as well. I just feel like I have so much to share, and it'll be fun to share it with you in the weeks and months and years ahead as well, right? As I have been for so many years. Side note, September 1st is my anniversary. It's 19 years as a full-time astrologer. As always, we like to do something special on September 1st, so be on the lookout for that. If you're not already signed up to my newsletter, you can do that over on my website as well. And so, lots of love, big hugs to everybody out there, and stay tuned for short horoscopes now. I wasn't sure what to talk about. Should I talk about the new moon? But I talked about that in the monthly horoscope. But then I was like, maybe I should talk about, Venus conjunct Jupiter, and because that was such a big deal of an energy. But now that energy is past and we're moving forward, right? So let's see what I'm inspired to do. I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'm going to take a pause that you won't know about. And then I'll come back on screen and you will see what the horoscopes end up being, right? Let's see where inspiration takes us. It can only be good if you're going with the inspiration of the heart, I think. Well, thank you again. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. Many of us have heard and maybe even experienced a moment of deja vu, right? It's this idea that a moment we find ourselves in, there's something eerie about it because it is familiar when it should not be. There's something about it that seems almost identical to a moment that you might have experienced before. And where you least expected it, it's not just a pattern, but there is an exactness and uncanniness to what it is that's taking place now. But there is a phenomenon that some describe as the opposite of deja vu. It's called Gemini vu, and it's this idea that we're in a moment, it is familiar, maybe we've experienced it many, many times before, but this time, something about it feels uncanny, feels eerie, feels unusual to us in some way when it really shouldn't. This week's new moon takes place in the sign of Virgo, and that tends to denote familiarity. I mean, this is the sign that speaks to those small moments as we move through our lives day in and day out. Sometimes we might even be on automatic as we go through those little habits and little rituals, but ultimately that is where life actually occurs and where ultimately we spend this incarnation and this lifetime. There's something very real about realizing that there is power in the present, and our need to be present at this time with something that might feel downright familiar, well, it just might take us by surprise. But here's the thing, it isn't just about this new moon. You cannot understand this new moon happening at 0 degrees in the sign of Virgo without understanding that it is intimately linked to next month's solar eclipse. That solar eclipse takes place at the very end of the sign of Virgo at 29 degrees. Both 0 and 29 are deeply mystical degrees of any given sign. And in many ways, whatever it is that happens now, however familiar yet weird it might feel, that weirdness is an intuitive understanding that whatever might be happening, well, it's going to take on a whole other level of intensity just a month from now. Whatever it is that feels like a sure thing that you're starting again, it is going to have some karmic twists and turns that are only going to be revealed that much more fully under the light of next month's solar eclipse. And that means that while eclipses are considered especially karmic, right, they have this wild card quality, which is that you don't want to do too much in terms of aligning with it, making rituals, or maybe setting intentions to it, because you just don't know how things are going to go. Because ultimately eclipses are meant to align us with a higher, more loving vision for our life. And sometimes in our human understanding, we just don't know what that could be. And while this week's new moon, it comes on by surprise, and it has us very quickly scrambling in some way. And yet we may not fully realize that just when we think we know, we really don't. To see how this new moon speaks to you in your sign, check out your sun, moon, and rising. Take all three into consideration, synthesize the information to make it unique to you, and you can get a much deeper dive into this new moon for your sign by heading over to your monthly horoscope on my YouTube channel, Nadiya Shah, and in the superstar space at thefutureismagical.com. Aries, clients, customers, coworkers, immediate supervisors, these people likely very quickly are going to come into focus, or unexpectedly someone new might pop up seemingly out of nowhere, and there might be a sense of either initial chaos or scrambling in some way, and yet very quickly you find your power within any new connection there. Now, this could also be a need to pay attention to a health-related matter. The great thing is that this energy is meant to empower you, to take better care of you. And this is a time when, in an instant, you realize what can change. And by making some small change, you feel profoundly better. Taurus, flirtation, romance, what the heart wants in just about every area of life. So remember, we have the shock factor with this new moon energy, and out of nowhere, the last person you expected, the last place you expected someone to flirt with you, that just might take place at this time, and it just might feel like a wake-up call on that level of heart. But this could also be an awakening related to getting honest with yourself about what's going to make you happy, what'll bring you joy. Once you identify it, the pathway to it is that much more clear. Gemini, home, the past, your living situation, and your family of origin. So very quickly, it might feel like you want to be home, you got to be home. It might feel like there's a living arrangement related matter you need to pay attention to super quick as well. And whatever comes about, understand that this is just the beginning. So it's really important not to, if you can, make huge life-changing choices at this time. Stay open to possibility. It might just represent a moment that has you scrambling, that you're able to adjust to very quickly and find yourself being able to recognize how whatever's happening, even though it comes on by surprise, might be very much to your advantage. Whether it's chaos in your living situation or around your living situation, you're able to bring calm. Once you understand what's really going on, that could strengthen your understanding of what home is for you. Cancer, siblings, cousins, neighbors. It could be that one of these people needs your attention or wants your attention very quickly at this time under the light of this new moon. But for all of that, this part of the sky also has to do with communication, conversation, and learning. Now, I would be very careful of gossip around this time. Just when you think you know what to believe, it could be something way different. And it could be that information now either comes by surprise or something you said that maybe even you forgot about. It was such a non-event. Well, it might just come back around in some way. So be mindful of your words. And if you do that, then you're able to take this energy and instead use it for meaningful reflection to understand your own thought processes. Now, that's where you could have a really meaningful breakthrough to understand how you're thinking about things and how you can change it. Leo, money you earn, money you spend, self-love, self-esteem is covered here as well. And so when we have such strong financial energy, it means the money you need is there. Sometimes you're navigating spiritual lessons as part of it coming together for you. So be patient with yourself as you navigate this time. For all that though, very quickly you might have to pay attention to a financial matter. It might feel very quickly as if there's something there and you've got to adjust, you've got to respond. It could be that there's an expense you want to actually partake in, but it could also be something that feels like it needs to get done. Now, if there are changes to your income at this time, remember, you will see it differently once we navigate into next month. And of course, I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way. So pace yourself and be yourself. You are moving towards greater power in understanding what matters, including what's worth doing for money and what isn't. Virgo, when we get a new moon in your sign, it is a chance to know yourself and see yourself very differently, to get very clear about not only who you are, but what matters to you most and what matters to you first. And where you've gotten off that path, you just might very dramatically be back on it. But remember, whatever's happening now, just when you think you know who you are, just when you think you know what matters, you just might see it all very differently once we navigate to that very powerful solar eclipse next month. So pace yourself and be mindful about making big sweeping changes. But some truth of you or how you really feel is likely to stir and come forward for you. And it really could be a game changer in how you see yourself. And ultimately, this is energy about empowerment, to make sure that in your self-honesty, you see the best of you. Libra, soul, psyche, spirit. It's about the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, under the surface, that this new moon represents. And if anybody out there is likely to feel like you didn't know something, and then all of a sudden you know it, it's likely to be you. This is an energy of surprises, a minute that are seemingly out of nowhere. It could be related to you, like you didn't realize something about yourself, but it could be related to just about any person, place, thing, or situation. So stay open to see which way this ultimately erratic energy wants to go. There's something very cleansing and karmic about what happens at this time. You might find yourself with a very fortunate karmic closure that happens super quick now. Scorpio, friends and group dynamics. It could change in an instant. This is all about new beginnings. So being invited to join new group endeavors might feel like an opportunity that comes up out of nowhere. It might feel as if it's something that it's being presented to you like you've got to do it. And it's up to you to decide if that really is the case. But for all that, this could also be a moment when it feels like a friend really needs your attention or your presence, and it might feel inconvenient in some way, but it gets to show you some truth about your relationship to them, how you feel about them, and also where it is that you are in terms of your understanding of this alliance and its usefulness or meaningfulness to you could be a huge part of this equation. But for all that, seeing somebody differently in an instant, yeah, it could change that dynamic seemingly forever. Just when you think that is the case, though, remember, next month's solar eclipse might have you seeing what's happening now very differently. Sagittarius, career, social standing, life purpose. Now, this could be some really unexpected developments where it comes to what's happening on that career front. A new boss could show up seemingly out of nowhere, or you might get a chance to be a boss and it has you scrambling and unsure if it's something you really want to partake in. But for all that, we also get energies here that are remarkably insightful into your understanding of what you believe a higher, more loving vision for your life just might be and what your purpose just might be. You're gaining those insights now through some very quick changes, and yet you'll understand it and bigger opportunities that much more differently once we navigate into next month. Capricorn, long distance travel, immigration, citizenship, higher learning, and legal matters are covered here as well. And we have here energies that speak to very quickly feeling as if the world opens to you, but the opposite might also be true. It's like the world closes to you just where you wanted it to be open or you thought it was. But remember, delays are not denials, but also you will be literally or figuratively exactly where you are supposed to be. And if you're not supposed to be somewhere, you just won't. And that really is okay. Now, this might also be feeling as if something that you believe about the world, maybe expressing some political opinions, it evokes a reaction that you hadn't anticipated that might feel aggressive or unexpected in some way. And I'm so sorry to say it does happen, but it does show you some deeper truth about how you want to approach the world and whose opinion really is going to matter to you and whose doesn't. Aquarius, profound change, truth, transformation, regeneration, and wealth. So many Aquarians might find themselves having to get really honest with yourself about a matter that you didn't expect yourself needing to, but as you face some truth, it helps you to understand what you really want to do and what it is to be authentically you. Now, this could be related to a psychological matter or process of transformation you're in, whether that's physical, psychological, or otherwise. But a lot of Aquarians might experience this with having to pay attention to a financial matter. Remember, when we have such strong financial energy, it means the money you need is there. You might be engaging spiritual lessons along the way. And this is about getting some bill paid or needing to pay attention to a financial institution really quickly. But of course, you got this. Keep it about the spiritual lessons, and you'll also very quickly be aware of all the abundance available to you. Pisces, partnership and love is highlighted here, and very quickly you might find yourself having a whole new understanding about what love is to you, who your partner is, or who your partner could be as well, where you are in love and how you feel about it. You might see it very differently in an instant as well. If you're connecting with new people, it seemingly comes out of nowhere. It might come about through an uncomfortable moment at that. And if it is that you are in an established bond, well, you are due for a fresh new beginning. Likely with this person and a new understanding and a new chapter, but in a small percentage out there, what you see now, it might really feel like it changes your perception. Now, what you're going to do with it, that'll become a lot more clear once we navigate to next month's solar eclipse. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.